Among all the new Hisui Pokemon, there is one Pokemon that really stood out as an outlier, and that of course was Sneasel. All of the Hisui forms and evolutions that we received in this game were of Pokemon from other regions. We had a bunch of mons from Unova and one from Kalos and Alola, and even the older ones such as Growlithe and Arcanine made sense, since they regularly can't be found in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Or even Voltorb and Electrode, progression of turning Apricorns into regular Pokeballs makes sense as well. But Sneasel and Weavile, why? Weavile is traditionally a Pokemon from the Sinnoh Pokedex, and the only time we've seen a pre-evolution to a Pokemon native to a home region or the Sinnoh region get a different form. So what happened? What happened to Hisui and Sneasel and Sneasler, and how did Weavile later come to exist from Jotoni and Sneasel? What's going on, guys? Hybrid Eerie here, and I just gotta say real quick, around 92% of you are unsubscribed. You know, I get it, there are a lot of Pokemon channels these days. Some of you just might watch one of my videos and not come back till like 3 months later, which is cool, I get that. But if you're coming back and watching a bunch of my videos, what are you doing? You might as well stick around. Hit that subscribe button and bell icon so you don't miss out my videos. We're almost at 100k after all. And while you're at it, comment down below with how you feel about the 4 members of the Sneasel family, and specifically how you feel about Hisui and Sneasel and Sneasler. So Hisui and Sneasel, a Pokemon that can be found in the Cordant Highlands and Alabaster Icelands, while Sneasler is a ride Pokemon used for rock climbing that Base Dingo gives you. Jotoni and Sneasel and Weavile, on the other hand, come from space-time distortions from the Obsidian Fieldlands, implying that they come from a future time. Well, at least Weavile does. I can't tell whether or not Jotoni and Sneasel exist already in Johto, but since Weavile is a Sinnoh Pokemon that evolves by using the Razor Claw at night, and you can only get the Razor Claw via Battle Frontier and Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Weavile most likely only started to appear during modern times. Sneasler, on the other hand, is the opposite, where it evolves via Razor Claw during the daytime from Hisui and Sneasel, and has obviously been confirmed to exist there for at least a little while. Most likely meaning that whatever events transpire in the future, it looks as though Hisui and Sneasel and Sneasler were once again the original forms, and by adapting and evolving through natural selection, Hisui and Sneasel and Sneasler died off, and later evolved to become regular Sneasel and Weavile. And this is actually implied through both Sneasler and Weavile's dex entries in Legends Arceus. Sneasler's dex entry specifically mentions how it prefers solitude and does not form packs to survive, while Weavile's dex entry, on the other hand, specifically mentions how it forms packs in order to survive, and its brain has actually developed to be more cunning. And I guess you can say intelligent, so yeah. Basically, Laventon's saying that Sneasler is a dumb one between the two. This is a very rudimentary reason that explains why Sneasler died off and why Weavile now exists. It's simply just intelligence and survival. One was smart enough to work together with other Pokemon of its species, and the other decided to do everything alone, and paid the price by dying off somewhere along the line. But still, this doesn't explain the crazy difference in their typings of Dark Ice and Fighting Poison, and how Hisui and Sneasel turns into this Bigfoot looking Pokemon in the first place.
I said C. I think it's a very satisfying color, but I just don't get why it's poison fighting. They never really explain.
I have a video coming out on a JPR, don't you worry.
Okay, Hybrid, you're gonna tuck me into it. It's going, I guess A.
I did this one for you, JPR. By the way, do check out the Champions League podcast when you can. We had a hilarious discussion ranking all the Hisui forms together. Fun stuff. Well, for this, we have to take a look into Sneasel's origins. For those of you that don't know, Sneasel is actually based on the Kamatachi, a yokai which is a weasel, a sickle weasel actually. Kama means sickle, and Itachi, while the word may remind you of one of the best characters in all of Naruto, actually means weasel. And there are many different types of Itachis around when we talk about yokais. The Kamatachi in particular are known to be in cold mountainous regions, travel in groups of 3, and be really meddlesome and mischievous. Honestly, I'd say brutal by the way they take out their victim, but nevertheless, Jotoni and Sneasel's dark typing comes from the Kamatachi's evil behavior, as the dark type in Japanese is the evil type. Its ice typing comes from the fact that it lives in colder mountainous regions, its sharp claws come from the fact that it's a sickle weasel, and Weavile moving in packs is again reflected in the way the Kamatachi moves in threes. Hisui and Sneasel is also based off the Kamatachi, but as it is an Itachi, I think its evolution Sneasler takes a different route. You see, Itachis possess shape-shifting abilities, as well as other supernatural powers, including one power that brings ill omens to people. Itachi are considered to be the most skilled shapeshifting animals, and one of their most common shapeshifting form comes in the form of another yokai, the Onyudo. The Onyudo is a general term for all the giants of Japan, but a lot of Onyudo seem to resemble giant Buddhist priests or monks. Some of these yokai can just be slightly bigger than humans, and others can be as big as a mountain. And Onyudo can be separated into 4 different groups. The ones that harm humans, the ones that help humans, the ones that are actually Onyudo and not shapeshifting Itachi, and a 4th group of very mysterious Onyudo. Let's keep that 4th group aside because there's such a mystery that there's not much information on them. Most Onyudo actually harm people. They terrorize humans and villages, and sometimes eat people. Yeah, that's not what Sneasler is, but there have been many legends stating that people sometimes stared at Onyudo and have suddenly gotten ill. Keep that in mind for later. Sneasler seems to be part of the 2nd group of Onyudo, the ones that help people. These kind of Onyudo have been known to provide and help people with good deeds that require enormous strength, such as turning stuck water wheels or moving heavy rocks, or in Sneasler's case, carrying us while climbing mountains. The 3rd group of Onyudo, while it isn't a group that Sneasler is in, does help prove the fact that Sneasler is an Itachi transformed into Onyudo, as the 3rd group is more rare than the 2nd. Finding a genuine Onyudo is more difficult than finding an Itachi who shapeshifted as an Onyudo, because that's how many Itachis shapeshifted as these guys. And while it is pretty much impossible to differentiate between a shapeshifting Itachi and a genuine Onyudo, the Itachi population is indeed significantly higher. It's also worth noting that this version of the helpful Onyudo isn't always benevolent. It can turn aggressive and violent with little warning, which honestly fits the build for Sneasler when you consider that Sneasel is his pre-evolution. That's pretty much what Sneasler is based off of, so how about we break it down? Hisui Sneasel and Sneasler are once again living near the mountain regions, and this time, instead of taking the route of evolving the way the Kamaitachi does, Hisui Sneasel takes the shapeshifting route of evolving into a helpful Onyudo. The Onyudo being a giant is the reason why Sneasler has the stretched out limbs and looks the way it does in the first place. And Sneasler also moving around alone in solitude rather than forming packs makes sense, as most Onyudo again seem to look like giant Buddhist monks or priests. While Sneasler definitely does not look like a monk, monks do prefer solitude, so I'm willing to bet that this is what inspired Game Freak to make this a Pokemon that walks alone rather than in a group. It's also a ride Pokemon since it still possesses the claws of a Kamaitachi and enormous physical strength, as stated by its origins and dex entry, making it fitting for a rock climbing Pokemon, and is helping us because it falls under the helpful category of the Onyudo. This is also why I think it takes the opposite route of its counterpart line Weavile, and goes for the fighting type, as the fighting type in Japan is basically the hero type. Sneasler would be considered a good Pokemon for helping us out, and that gives it the fighting typing. The poison type, however, I suspect comes from its origins of being an Itachi. Despite it being a helpful Onyudo, it is still at its core an Itachi who possesses shapeshifting powers, and even the power to bring ill omens upon others, which is where I think it gets its poison typing. This would also explain why Hisui Sneasel is a fighting poison typing as well, or why it even exists in the first place, because the poison elements of the Itachi are in its design, and just like the helpful Onyudo, though they can be nice, they can snap and turn aggressive real quick. There is also one more possible explanation for the poison type, and that comes to the illness that people have said to receive from staring too long at the Onyudo. And honestly, if that is the case, I mean, yeah, that honestly, and I mean this in the most respectful and cool way possible, could explain why Sneasler is designed to look hideous, and why both it and Sneasel look ill in the first place, cause, my god, when I look at them, I do feel a bit sick. And to bring it back to the game, it is clear that Sneasler as a Pokemon is not surviving too well, as the only Sneasler in this game is the one that is a ride Pokemon, meaning that being alone isn't doing too much for it. As Laventon stated, Sneasler later goes on to become more cunning and mischievous and work together, which is why this species survived. Adapting to the cold and becoming an ice type over a poison type really helped it as well. I would like to go more in depth in that. Yeah, it just got smarter, worked together, and got used to its habitat, but really, that's all I think there is to it. Taking a look at Hisui Sneasel's dex entry, there's nothing crazy mentioned there. It just foreshadows his evolution into Sneasler, who is a mountain climber, but Johtonian Sneasel on the other hand has something interesting where Laventon mentions that the water and earth may have something to do with Sneasel's mind and body, implying that it is something about these aspects of the Pokemon world that caused its evolution. But I haven't been able to find anything at all. I've cross-checked Hisui and Sneasel's location data on Legends Arceus and Johtonia and Sneasel's location data in the Sinnoh games, and guess what? There's not much of a difference. Yes, you can only find Johtonia and Sneasel in the cold areas, whereas with Hisui and Sneasel, you can find them in both in the Coronet Highlands as well as the Alabaster Icelands, but like, the altitude at which you can find both Sneasel and the connection to the water bodies, I don't see anything. I thought at first you would be able to find Hisui and Sneasel in the higher ranges than you would Johtonia and Sneasel, but you can find Hisui and Sneasel both high and low. And while it first looked like Johtonia and Sneasel could only be found in the lower regions of Sinnoh, it is pretty high up there on Mount Silver in the Johto games, so I don't think that's it. In Sinnoh, yes, Johtonia and Sneasel can be found more closer to the ground, while Hisui and Sneasel can be found higher up. But is this enough considering the data we have in other games? I don't think so. I could be coming up short here, and I ain't afraid to admit it, so if any of you guys have any ideas on how the water and earth may have affected Sneasel's evolution throughout the times, and you have evidence to prove it, please do let me know in the comments down below. But honestly, even without that aspect, I think I covered everything you need to know about Hisui and Sneasel, Sneasler, and their origins, and I do hope it makes you appreciate them and their existence a bit more, because it doesn't look like there's too many of them left to appreciate, if any at all. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Take care of yourselves, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys over on the next video, alright? Later.